Chapter 27. I wouldn't have thought of that. Doing downtown urban ministry, I was constantly confronted with issues and ethical decisions for which I have had no previous training or practice. I was constantly discovering there are policies and procedures we need to put in place that make me say, I wouldn't have thought of that. How drunk can you be and still come to church? That was a legitimate discussion question at a meeting of our usher-greeter team. What precipitated the discussion is that a few Sundays back, we had 3 totally wasted guys come to church. They snuck in during the adult Bible study time at 9:15 a.m. and had sat overly comfortable in their chairs during the discussion time, just a shade this side of totally passed out. But somehow, when they shuffled down the hall to the church service, they became increasingly loud and active. It was awkward because our usher team doesn't really show up in force until the main service starts. And that particular day, all of our big guy ushers were inadvertently not scheduled to serve. By the time the ushers did show up in force, at least 2 of the inebriated had been participating in some kind of church activity for over an hour. Some of our team considered it a little hypocritical to tell them now they couldn't come to services drunk. So there was some pause in taking action. Well, they didn't cause any problems in the Bible study, I would hear later. But mind you, this is a group where in the past we have considered it spiritual progress for some members to stop using street profanity during the discussion time. Everyone has a different starting point. I was caught off guard when one of them stood up wobbly at the back of the house and gave me a one-finger salute using their hands during the sermon. You might not know this, but that can be distracting and cause the concentration of the speaker to go adrift. Well, I figured demons just ain't ever going to give you an amen, so I must have been preaching pretty good that day. That was unlike a few weeks later when someone sitting up front was rolling paper cigarettes during my message. If your congregation is rolling smokes during your sermon, you've lost them. You're not as good as you think you are. If I ever teach in a seminary, I shall share that bit of wisdom with my students. At our usher-greeter meeting, we decided, tipsy is tolerable, but slosh gets tossed. Every church needs pithy little memorable slogans to live by. That's one of ours. Because of one of the other totally tanked participants, we discovered another rule to live by in church. If you're going to wear saggy pants that fall down and back, underwear is not optional. Someone should probably put that in the weekly bulletin. I wanted to put it on the reader board outside, but cooler heads prevailed. Thanks to drunk number 3, we can also safely guide our guests. If you take a bite of a cookie from the tray after service, there's no need to put it back. Please know you may keep the whole cookie. While we're at it, one elder chimed in during the meeting. What about the shopping carts and dogs? It turns out that one of our church problems is finding the best place to store shopping carts and overly large backpacks during Bible study and church services. This was another dilemma I wouldn't have thought of during my seminary training. The dogs really aren't a problem. They are more behaved than some of our other guests. But their hair on the pews is hard to back. Dogs must stay off the pews, please. Blankets for your dog, which can be placed on the floor, will be provided upon request. I wouldn't have thought of that one before either. I was also recently asked if I could perform a baptism for someone with her dog. I hadn't thought that would ever come up. And I have no problem baptizing her, but I'm certain her dog doesn't need it. As the scriptures state in Romans 8:19-22, for the anxious longing of creation waits eagerly for the revealing of the sons of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself also will be set free from its slavery to corruption into the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groans and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now. So, I think animals are awaiting the full restoration of humanity in God. The hope of the dog lies in the owner's redemption. I'm glad she didn't have a cat. I don't think you could ever baptize a cat. Just you try. You'll see they are indeed the devil's creatures. We couldn't decide yet if our guests unplugging and turning the electric liquid Glade air fresheners upside down to dab the contents on their person is a good or a bad thing. It makes us go through the costs of air fresheners faster than our budget allows, but perhaps there's a greater benefit we simply don't appreciate yet. That decision was tabled for further review. Several weeks after Inebriation Sunday, I met a clean-cut, well-groomed gentleman during our meal who informed me he had attended church totally wasted a few weeks earlier. I remembered him and his fingers. When I asked him where he had been lately, he told me that he got jumped while sleeping outside, and someone had kicked in his ribs and broken his face by stomping on him. When he woke up in the hospital, he hadn't remembered anything, only that he had a new metal plate in his face now. He was living in the Veterans Administration recovery home and going through treatment for addiction, working on restoring his life. So if you're wondering, there is a God.